Welcome to Great Leaders Serve. I'm your host, Kevin Best, and today we have Mike Friedler of Integrity Tools with us. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me a little bit about your business and what your role is in it.
Yeah, well, Kevin, thanks for having me. Great to be on board with you. So my business, Integrity Tool, we're a manufacturing company, job shop, typical job shop, where we produce lots of different components for many customers in the region of the Rochester, upstate New York area. But we also ship parts to Arizona. We ship parts to go to Mexico. Quite a array of customers around the country, and we produce individual standalone components for many different applications, whether it's medical or aerospace or wind energy. And most of what we build, we don't see the assembly, so we don't really know what it goes to. And my customer, in many cases, they don't really want us to know. I guess it doesn't. We have non-disclosures, of course, and so not seeing that assembly drawing can have its challenges in how it what the application may be. But nevertheless, we build a spec, and so therefore, going through our quality control department, everything gets checked out and approved by the customer, and so they're very happy with us.
So you're literally that guy when they say I make a widget. You literally make the widget.
We're the guys, yeah. And it's funny when they say nothing is made in the United States anymore. That's not true. We've been making precision components for 25 plus years now, and so sure, maybe the bulk of it is out of the country, but we have a lot of volume go through our company. For a small shop, we have 20 people, and so we get into some of those challenges as well, I'm sure, in our conversation. But so that's what we. So
let's actually go right into that. So you said, you have 20 people that work for you. So give me a little bit of the history of the company, and then tell me your role. And then finally, one of the things that I got introduced to you for was that somebody had told me, they said, you should really talk to Mike because he's got amazing character and he leads a company that he serves others by leading. So tell me a little bit about your role in the company today, the history, and how you came up with the idea that you should lead by serving others.
Yeah, well, my role, currently is I've learned to delegate so much that my role is decreased as a on-site, hands-on, put the apron on kind of owner to now I'm more or less behind the scenes. Currently, my position at this point is strictly, we'd call it inside sales, right? I'm just job quoting. Still some customer relations, and then some, if we get into the situation where I need to do some outside sales, going on knocking on doors, I've done a little bit of that recently, but overall, it's just strictly inside. I've been able to delegate to a great staff all of the key positions, and so that's really worked out very well, And so I'm in constant communication with my team and mainly my general manager. And so we have meetings every, almost daily, via phone. And so, we make daily adjustments if we need to on what's going on the shop floor.
So I'll go into the idea I got introduced to you for was of your character and your idea of you serve and lead at the same time. So talk a little bit about the idea that you came up with. Was it your idea, or did you get it from somebody else that said serving others is a great way to lead your organization?
Well, I guess a lot of that just stems from who I am and maybe my upbringing. I guess when you serve others, I mean, my accountant used to joke with me, and he would say, "Mike, these guys aren't working for you; you're working for them." And but overall, when you do that, it makes people, your employees, want to follow you, if you get my meaning. They want to work for you because you're that type of person that they see a good leader, and yet they I allow some flexibility in the work environment that caters to job retention and just the guys aren't staring out the window waiting for 4:30 to show up. You know what I mean? To the end of the day, and so they want to produce for you when you lead that way. My idea, no. Well, Scripture says that we're to put others first, and so I kind of go by what Jesus said, that we should seek to have others in front of us, and so that's a positive thing there. So
yeah. So when you started, and did you start the business, or was it started by somebody else?
No, I started the business from scratch. Yeah, and oddly enough, I was a tool maker for 15 years for another company. I didn't know what a business plan was, but I knew how to approach people, and I myself was approachable. So being a people person, it just flowed, and so it just started out with a few contacts and credit card, and we just went at it, and initially went to shop tool auctions to buy equipment, and I believed in starting small and somewhat cautious. I mean, business is always risky, but somewhat cautious in my startup. I didn't go out and buy a $2 million building right off the bat. You have to start small and then build and build and build, and that's where that's what's got me where I am today.
Now, you talked a little bit about delegating before. When you first started delegating, so as you said, you started out from scratch. So basically, you were probably your first employee, and so then you continually added employees over time. Was there something that happened within the business that was, whether it was good or bad, did something happen that said, wow, I really got to start delegating out some of this work that I do now, I have to delegate it out to my team? Well,
staying up till midnight is no fun. So you have to surround yourself with good people, and that's key to. I mean, somebody once said that I would rather receive the benefit of 100 people, maybe what is it, 10% of 100 people than 100% of myself. I'm not misquoting that, but you get the meaning. If you don't delegate and learn to operate that way, you're going to be stuck, working, hours on end, and frustration, and again, delegating has its challenges, but nonetheless, the good outweighs the bad.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges that you have, because you have the system where you're, as your accountant said, you're not leading, you're serving your employees. And so that's a wonderful thing. I think a great compliment to be able to give to you. So talk about some of the pressing issues or concerns and problems that come around when you are leading by delegation.
Well, when you delegate, people, sometimes you can get taken advantage of, right? If you give flexibility for, say, work hours, right? We try not to be so rigid that people, want to go down the road and work for somebody else. So by doing that, or by delegating, you're really relying on another person's ability and character and integrity, and so are they going to pull through for you? And you have to allow people, to make mistakes, and because if you try to hold on to all that stuff, it really will tear you up inside. You'll lose sleep, and you just have to say, okay, I'm going to put it in their court. And if it costs you, you have to go back and say, well, that's the cost of doing business. You just, you can't hold it all to yourself, because it would just destroy you. And in my mind, I mean, some people may have had that ability, but there's other things in life I want to be able to do, and we'll talk about that later, what I'm doing now in Florida. So.
Yeah. And are there unique financial challenges that you face because of the idea that you've said, I want to empower my team. I want to allow them to lead their areas. Does that create any unique financial challenges for you in terms of either maintaining those employees or in other ways?
Well, in the shop environment in which I'm in, skilled help is always a challenge. So a lot of times employees now have that advantage of being a very small workforce. They can sometimes therefore call the shots with the employer. I mean, when I started back in the 80s, there was 20 guys knocking on the door to get a job, and now we're looking for 20 guys and we can't find one. So the employee now has a little bit more of an advantage, if you will. But again, I've tried to create an environment where people want to work for me. So that's I hope I answered that well enough.
No, absolutely.
Delegating, sometimes those mistakes can be costly. If you crash a $200,000 machine, that can be a lot to fix. And then the employee, of course, it's 4:00, it's time to go home, and they don't lose any sleep. But that's why I have to. It's actually helped me, I think, mentally and emotionally, being away from the company, 1,600 miles away now, and delegating and having a great GM, that I don't have to see the day-to-day stuff. I'm at the point now where I'm really looking at the bottom line. And I know that sounds, corporate, if you will, and that's all I care about. No, I care a lot more about than just that. But in reality, to keep the doors open and keep things flowing, that's the key number, So
talk a little bit about the GM, because obviously you groomed this GM to be able to run the organization so you could be 1,600 miles away. How did you find the GM? Was it somebody that came from within? Was it somebody that you had to train on how to delegate as well? How did that work out?
Well, he came in from another company. He had already had a lot of experience in the leadership area, and so it just flowed like it was. It just flowed very well for me, and he is probably more driven than myself. So, we're at a particular yearly number in sales, and he wants to quadruple it. I mean, Mike, he's very goal driven, and so that's really worked out well. So, having his previous experience, and then once he was with me for a couple of years, he just, and sometimes. I would say to people, you just got to take the bull by the horns here and go, and you have to know what to do, not be told every day what to do. You got to know, right? And so he already had all that experience, and so it just was an obvious, very well flowing transition there.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And so there are other people that you work with. And in fact, the way I was introduced was one of the other professionals that you work with, one of your bankers. And so you have to deal with other professionals, the attorneys, the accountants you already named, bankers, other insurance people, other people in other professions that come into your business, or in fact might be a customer that you deal with. When you're dealing with the other professionals that you have to hire, do you look first for their skill set, or do you look for their desire to serve others first?
Well, typically I hire by word of mouth, and usually, but because I've surrounded myself with my banker who has a high level of integrity, and most of the people that I've associate with, their recommendations of people are usually spot on with the type of person I'm looking for. So yeah, their skill set is important, and of course their their character is important as well. Where they are in serving versus usually, I don't always know that up front, but usually that comes out as we're working together, just where they're at. And, let's be honest, some of that is to different degree, different levels of degree, if you will, on how much they serve. And, I guess in a way, I'm serving myself by serving others. And that is right. That generates, or that shows up through the quality of work that we do and what I've been able to achieve, if you will.
So let's go to your family first, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about what you do in the community. But in your family, now when you think about the family that you have, are you emulating? Are they seeing you serve others and saying, "Yeah, that's what I want to do"? You've been able to show them through the family, and then also through the community how you serve. Is that something that's important to you to make sure that you pass on to your family?
It is,
and future generations.
Yeah, it is, and so I married a single mom, so she already had 3 kids, and so they've seen me serve their mother, and then serve in the community and serve many people. So I and some of that takes a while to get traction, and so but I think they're catching on, and so I'm encouraged with the direction that they're going for the most part. Everybody has challenges, and so, but I think they're doing pretty well in that.
And the professionals that you hire personally. So you also have you might have bankers or financial professionals, insurance people, attorneys, accountants personally that you work with that might be different from the professional level. So I'll ask you the same question again. Do you look at their skill set first? Do you look at their character? Do they serve others? How do you look at when you're dealing with it on the personal side?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's going to be generally word of mouth initially, and then I try to do a little research on them and see, check their background and see what, how they're treating others, and what reviews tell me about them, and so that's generally how I find those folks. My financial one of my financial advisors worked with my dad, so he took very good care of them, and so we just jumped on board with him as well, and he did very well by them. So for them, so.
That's wonderful. Now, I do know that now that you are not in the day-to-day operations of your organization, you also serve the community. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you've served the community, both in Rochester and maybe down even in Florida?
Sure. Yeah. So for the most part now, in Florida, so I'm in the Tampa area, and we work in 4 counties. So I volunteer in an organization called Bikes for Christ. And what we do is we provide transportation in the way of a bicycle for homeless veterans, single moms, maybe someone who was incarcerated that's trying to get back on their feet. And how that works is we work with well over 100 agencies in the Tampa 4-county region. And so it's through that agency, through a caseworker, that person, the client, is seeking to get help. So it's a real game changer for someone who doesn't have transportation. Last year we did 480 bicycles. We can't give somebody a car, right? So, but we can get them a bicycle. In Florida, of course, year-round, weather is good to ride all year. And someone seeking, they want to get a new job or a job. Or back and forth to the grocery store, it's a game changer, as I said.
So how did you come up? Is this your idea? Did you latch on or so if it wasn't your idea, how did you find out about this?
Yeah. So the gentleman that started the program went on a mission trip in 2016. I think it was Nicaragua he went to, and so when he got back, and he's an avid cyclist, when he got back back home to the Tampa area here, he said, "I've got to do something for the community." So we started Bikes for Christ. And when my wife and I came in 2020, we're in a 55 plus place. I couldn't just lay around the pool all day. I had to find something to do because I'm very productive driven. I've got to be producing something, helping someone, and so I just found him online and I called him up and said, he probably needs some help. And so we met up at a local diner and had a chat and we jumped right in, both feet. And we had done some volunteer work back in New York through a living history museum and really enjoyed our time there. We spent about 8 years there on site, hands-on, as part of that museum, and met some great people there. A lot of wonderful memories. Corporately, we were involved with them for about 20 years. And so, volunteer portion of things just flowed when I got to Florida here. And so this particular organization is a standalone. So it's not tied in with anybody to create, it doesn't have a lot of bureaucracy, if you will. It's just a straightforward, this is what we do, go do it, and so it makes it easy.
So how do you tell others about this? So I assume you're not the only one trying to get bikes and raise money, but you're probably now a pretty good advocate for them. So how does that serve the community in that way?
Yeah, so we work with, we're part of at least seven Chamber of Commerce organizations locally. So my wife and I represent at 3 of them. And so we do a lot of those meetings. She happens to be an ambassador for one of the chambers, which means, she's going out to represent them as well. And so we do a lot of those meetings. We meet with a lot of people at those meetings. They're happy to meet us and, always, give us a, thumbs up with what we're doing. Someone commented recently, they said, Mike, you're not just helping the homeless person, you're helping everybody. Because when you help a homeless person get back in society, that helps everybody. And I thought that was, I didn't really thought that through, but it's true. And the other thing we do to generate exposure is we do a lot of public market events, such as like a crawfish festival, or they have a number of seafood festivals and stuff. Tough, you got to eat and then show your stuff, what's going on. But lots of different public events. We have one coming up in a couple of days. It's a big expo. Might be like a health expo or lots of different opportunities here in Florida. There's lots of events going on, and then there's the other event. Sometimes we simply will be busing in some of those homeless folks, and a lot of the churches in the area will do a healthcare day for them, where they'll have haircuts and showers and things like that, and a lot of these folks, they get comfortable living, on the street or in the woods, and so it's difficult sometimes to get them to change. But providing transportation for them really can be a step up and a step toward that change. So we go back to the Chamber of Commerce for a second. As you said, you advocate at different Chamber of Commerces. So obviously, there's a lot of other business leaders that are part of that, business owners that are part of that. Do you look as when people are coming up to you and talking to you about this? Do you look at cultivating them for this organization? Do you look at helping to mentor them on how to better serve others and what they're trying to do as well? You're being looked up as that serving leader at this point. So how does that work when you're promoting that with other business owners? Well, we're always trying to find other volunteers to help us. And, but in our chamber meetings, there are a lot of other nonprofits. And so I think by being there, it's really encouraging for them to know that, okay, somebody else, we're not the only ones doing this, right? Someone else is alongside of us. And because we work with over 100 agencies now, that all generates to produce that same kind of effect, if you will.
And so I have one more question for you is when you're looking at the future here, and as you said, you're getting you now have other passions beyond just the business. Down the road, are you looking to be able to help impart more knowledge to younger business owners through mentorship programs or anything else that relates to how you can impart that servant leader knowledge that you've accumulated over the past 30 plus years?
Yeah, I would love to do more of that. I have had the opportunity when I was back in New York to speak at several high schools and speak to young people, and so some of that, what I'd like to give to them is simply asking questions. How do you want to be remembered, or how do you how are you going to affect society, or can you do something to better other people's lives, and not that I'm looking for the plaque on the wall, and that doesn't matter to me. I think one's personality would speak to how are you going to reach out to people, and if that makes sense. I'm hoping that I get more opportunity here in Florida to be able to speak to young people and try to get them to thinking that way. How can I make a difference in society? When we hang on to ourselves, we really become you become selfish, and you want everything for yourself. And yet, when you give your life away, that's when you get the most reward. It doesn't. Right. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but in reality, that's what happens. So.
Well, I think one of your terms earlier is you delegate, right? And if you can delegate that part of your life away, you actually get it back in spades. And that's just a wonderful area. So, Mike, I want to thank you again for joining us on Great Leaders Serve. To everybody else who's listening right now, I want you to please help us by getting this valuable message out, by rating and reviewing us and sharing this message and sharing the podcast with others through YouTube and all your other favorite podcast apps. So thank you again, Mike, for being part of this, and thank you the rest of you for listening in. I appreciate it all. Thank you.
For more information about the Center for Serving Leadership, visit our website at centerforservingleadership.com.